is going on, my chemical industry family, partners, and friends? Welcome back to Smart Acids Podcast, where we continue to let borons be borons. Today's show is brought to us by Univar Solutions, which offers the reliability that delivers. No matter if your chemistry grows, flows, or knows, Univar Solutions is a valued partner you need to bring the right product to the right solution at the right time. So go to your univarsolutions.com today and find your right solution. This is Andy Erickson, your fabled host of the Smart Acid Podcast, and I'm here with the Jack Dawson to my Rose. My heart will go on. It's the Heartbreaker, Chris Ernst. Heartbreaker, my man. How you holding up?
Andy, I'm great today. How about you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. I am super excited to have Jen McIntyre joining us today. She's roughly a handful of weeks away from retirement. Now, Jen has held many roles within Univar during her storied career, and she's currently, I believe, the Executive VP and a Strategic Advisor. But I also know she's been filling in as the Interim Chief Operations Officer. So before I stick my foot further in my mouth, why don't we just ask Jen what she's currently doing now and what are all the hats that she's wearing? Jen, welcome.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Well, I guess it's just to go all the way back.
Let's do it. We got time. It's been a lot of years. I'm a chemical engineer by training. And I started my career, if we're going to count co-ops, it's been over 40 years. I started actually the very first thing I did was getting Kathon biocide approved, regulatory wise. Yeah. So that was a little co-op job, but I started in engineering, actually designing and building and starting up plants. This is back when we were building and starting up plants in the Americas and in Europe. But I worked for Roman Haas right out of school. And after I transitioned out of the engineering division, I was in plants. It's kind of the story of my career. That I've worn a lot of hats. When I was in a plant, I did all kinds of different things, right? I did EHS, I did project management, I did capital improvements, technical service, all kinds of stuff. Eventually, I became plant manager of a plant and then moved into supply chain. So that was the Roman Haas monomer supply chain. We got bought by Dow. And I moved into the Dow solvent supply chain, running their global solvent supply chain. So both of those are very vertically integrated supply chains at those companies. I left Dow and joined Univar about 13 years ago. Anyway, but I've done a bunch of stuff since I've been here, right? So I've done supply chain, planning, transportation operations, the Nexio integration, HR. So I have a lot of things that I've done. All right. Well, I think before we break down all the highs and lows of all of that, I think we need to play a quiz, Heartbreaker. So Jen, I know that you're a Philadelphia woman, so we have 5 questions directly related to Philadelphia. I'm assuming you go 5 for 5 here, but in fact, I'd be slightly disappointed if you don't. But first one out of the gates, which should be a softball, is which Philadelphia landmark is famously featured in the training montage of the movie Rocky?
The Art Museum.
That is correct. I didn't even need to give you the A, B, C's, and D's.
Thoroughly impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
What? Well, and without the multiple choice. So, Jen, we're going to stick with movies. Which Philadelphia University's marching band played on the Philadelphia Museum of Art for the movie Rocky II?
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, I gotta go with Temple.
You got to be right. Again, 2 for 2.
Still no multiple choice.
And I don't think you're going to get any.
Well, not now.
No. All right. The third one, and this to me, there's probably going to be a lot of follow-up questions, but during championship celebrations, what substance does the city of Philadelphia notoriously apply to streetlight poles to prevent fans from climbing them?
I'm going to say it's lard.
Crisco, I would agree. Okay.
Oil.
There you go, Crisco. That's right.
Apparently they've used hydraulic grease and gear oil in the past. There's in 2018 they had something about Crisco cops, and it sounds like they actually put this stuff on there, but Philadelphians took it as more of a challenge to be able to climb the pole than to prevent them. So that being said, have we ever climbed a pole, a grease pole?
Have not climbed a grease pole. No.
Has any family member? I know you have sons. Has any family member ever tried to climb?
Not that they've copped to. So
She can neither confirm nor deny. That's right.
Yeah, I know. I seen it.
They are
I detected
boys.
a little pause. They are boys.
Oh, I love it. All right. All right. Next one, Jen, if you're ready. Which Philadelphia skyscraper's completion in 1987 is credited with starting the Curse of Billy Penn by surpassing the height of the statue atop City Hall?
I don't know if that's One Liberty Place.
Man, 4 for 4. One Liberty Place is correct.
Okay.
All right. 4 for 4. Now, this is where we could go off the rails here. There is a long-standing rivalry in Philly between Pat's and Geno's. In your opinion, who makes the best Philly cheesesteak?
Jim's. Neither.
So here's what's impressive is our answer is Angelo's, and it was trying to set you up to pick one and tell you you're wrong. But, so I'm going 5 for 5.
She got
Well
Jim's.
done.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's
Well, it's that or Dal Sanders. Dal Sanders is pretty good too.
There we go.
what makes one better? The bread, the meat, the seasoning, the cheese?
I personally think it's the meat. You know, you can't, I mean, like that, anyway.
Do you get it with the whip or not? You just meat?
No, well, I'll get it with American cheese.
Okay.
I get it with, but not with like
With.
cheese whiz.
With.
That's what they do.
We're starting to get a little Philly out of her. All right, let's start talking a little bit high level about the chemical industry and your view as a leader from both. You mentioned a chemical producer and from Univar, a chemical distributor. What differences do you see between distribution and a chemical producer?
It's very different, actually. You know, I mean, there's maybe talk about what's the same, right? I think we're unified, you know, in terms of like purpose. Everything starts with chemicals, and you know, you look around, it's everywhere. And so, you know, I think that obviously, you know, from an industry perspective, we're very joined up. We don't have the kind of assets that manufacturers have, which make our economics different. And so, you know, but we understand and need to understand what their economics are, right? That they have big integrated manufacturing assets that have fixed costs and need to absorb those costs. But that can drive a lot of their behavior, particularly, you know, as we look at the market now and supply and demand being what it is. Our asset base is a lot simpler. And so, you know, that also means that the hurdle to entry is lower. And so we compete with a lot of regionals. It creates a very fragmented market. You know, I mean, if you're looking at solvents, Dow's competing with a short list of people on manufacturing solvents. In distributing solvents, we are competing with a huge number of people. So, you know, that's I think a key difference. You know, our whole model is service, and, you know, manufacturers, particularly commodity manufacturers, really rely on distribution for the service model because they are focused on running their assets, and they can't really be wasting their time with like specialty sized drums so that people can, you know, they want to put 3 400-pound drums into their batch. You know, they don't want to say, 400 for this guy and 410 for this other one. So, I mean, I think what we do is critically important. to keep all of the rest of the downstream industries running.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. Let's build on that maybe just a little bit. What you spent considerable time with both chemical producer and chemical distribution. Now, what have you learned? Give us one thing you've learned from each, if you could.
Actually, SKU proliferation was really, and I'm going to give it through my lens, right? The supply chain lens, if you will, right? So, but the SKU proliferation can really kill you in specialty, right? Like it doesn't hurt you, because you don't have it in commodity. But if you let your SKUs get out of control, you will start just losing money. You know, your inventory is everywhere. The rotations through the wheel, the product wheel in the plant, you know, like you start serving your business poorly, the whole model breaks down. So I think that for specialty producers, they have to always be very mindful of that, to stick to their knitting and, like, you know, what really adds value for them versus getting caught up in a lot of bibs and bobs. For commodity, again, I'm gonna look at it through, you know, my lens of supply chain. Yeah, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. You know, there's a lot. Your plants go down, and things happen in the world, right? Weather. There's just so many things, and having your inventory in the right place and the flexibility to move your inventory is really important, because so fast you can end up shutting down your plant. Like, your whole job in supply chain and a commodity business is whatever you do, don't shut down the plant. And so making sure that you're forecasting and that you can, you know, get product out and keep all the wheels rolling is actually super challenging. And then, you know, in distribution, the thing that really surprised me about distribution was how much our product, basically, like, all of our customer base changes all the time. You know, it is an organism that's constantly changing and growing, and, like, you can't, whereas when I was in my other, at Romanhaus and Dow, you could put a plan together, you know, and barring a hurricane or whatever, like, you could kind of, like, run the plan. And you have, you know, set transportation lanes and all this sort of thing. That's not so here, right? We're always having to just adjust and modify and constantly rerun freight lanes and revisit our inventory stocking. You know, should we be buying it to order? Should we be stocking it? It's a really, the detail and the constant vigilance in this business, to me, is what makes it exciting, actually, but it makes it super challenging.
Well said.
Sorry, that's also very supply chainy.
No, it's great. I mean, I everything you just said, I think of the day to now.
Absolutely.
Of SKU proliferation and customers constantly changing, and so, I mean, it's real. All right, retrospective look. Given what you know now, would you do it all again?
Oh, 100%. 100%. You know, I honestly, the luckiest thing that ever happened to me was my high school guidance counselor suggesting that I should be a chemical engineer. I did not grow up in a family of college educated folks, and I actually thought it was a train locomotive engineer when she suggested that I do that. Gave me a pamphlet, and I read it, and I was like, yeah, that sounds interesting. It's so cool. Like, our industry is so cool. And I like adventure, and so the always changing, the wearing of the different hats. I know, it's been a great experience.
Over a rock star or a actress or a
yes.
Did you ever play?
By the way, these are you're projecting, Andy.
Yeah, I know. Did you play an instrument ever? I mean,
Nope.
Nope.
I can't sing.
All right.
That's good stuff, Jen. Jen, let's build on the change topic there a little bit. You've had a diverse and unique experience in the world of chemical and chemical distribution. What has changed the most and what has remained the same over the course of your career?
I think what's changed the most is definitely the oversupply with China, and their behavior and stuff. I think that's what's changed the most. When I think about when I started my career, we were building plants on the ship channel, and in Scotland, right, in Grangemouth, like, because the world needed it, and so now you see supply coming on that the world doesn't necessarily need, and it getting pushed out, and it's just, that's so different than how it was when I started in my career.
How about the same question, but more related to people? Like, what changes with STEM talent in the industry and individuals? Like, how are the people changed over time?
When I went to Drexel, actually we had a lot of women, a lot of female engineers at the time, and today it continues to be the engineering field that attracts the most women. It's actually, I think it's fairly close to gender parity, which I think is super cool. We weren't quite there then. In general, though, I don't know that we see a ton of growth, like in chemistry majors or in chemical engineers per se, right? So it is a great field that I managed to get one of my kids to major in chemical engineering, so I did my part. But yeah, I think that I don't know why, it doesn't increase. We do try and do outreach and such, and encourage, but it hasn't gone backwards either. So I guess that's a good thing. I think if you look across, just generally speaking, in terms of talent, our people today versus, let's just say 20, 30 years ago, we have a lot more degreed people. I'd say that when you think about IT and digital, even to planning, like I think 30 years ago, planning, you might come right out of high school and work your way into a planning role. Today, we hire people who have degrees in supply chain, right? And so the level of expertise that, as I look across our company, the people in our solution centers, like everywhere, I think we have an incredibly talented workforce, who come into the company with a lot of skills right out of the gate. So,
talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned at parity with chemical engineers, male, female, women in leadership in this industry over time. I think we've gotten a lot better, but talk to us a little bit about that, leading both at a producer and within a distributor.
Yeah, it looks very similar from when I was at a manufacturer versus at Univar. What seems to happen is over time we see attrition in and either career interruption, right, for any number of reasons. Look, when I have 3 boys, I worked part-time for 6 years because it's hard. It's hard to do both things, and I very deliberately didn't step away, but I thought about it, and so career interruptions can really start to set you back, and so, and I think also, I don't know, maybe move into adjacent industries, and so, so what you see is a little bit of a war of attrition, as you go further up in the organization.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Maybe switching gears slightly here. Interested in your views on the impact of data and technology on the industry over your career, and if you've got a forward look, we'll take it on what you see coming next related to data and technology.
Well, so first of all, I think that we've done a lot, even before AI. Right? When you think about the kinds of tools that we have in place and the data between Salesforce and SAP, Infor for planning, right? SAP TM for transportation management. if there's a tool, we were going to deploy it, right? And always try and be in front of that. So I think, we've done a lot before we even gotten to this point right now. Generally, I think that's true across the industry. It was certainly my experience before joining Univar as well. But what we've never really tapped into as an industry and it's still like hanging out there is that whole like end-to-end digital process, right? Like our customer adoption of digital continues to kind of be a laggard, not for lack of trying, right? I think that Graham and his team are doing great stuff, but it's a little bit pushing on a rope with some of the customers. So we face that, I think, as a headwind to really, getting the kind of saturation I think we were capable of delivering against, When I think about going forward, we have the best data. We have so much data. It's almost too much data. And that to me is a little bit what's exciting about AI, because we should be able to take all of that immense data and make it more meaningful for us, to provide insights and to basically make us more effective, faster and effective. You think about we get a bid, from a corporate account and how long it can take us to go through all of the, pieces of information, data, et cetera, to put together a response. If we had an AI tool that could do a lot of what we do very, very manually today, I would think that we'd be faster and the quality of it would probably be, we're always going to need human eyes on it because, a machine's a machine. But I'd like to think that that's a powerful unlock, that sort of thing. Yeah. But I think we've kept up, and I feel good about that. And the work that I see everybody doing, that Bob is championed and, the team is driving for, I think it's all going in the right direction.
Crystal ball time. So what does 20 years look like from now for distribution? Drones delivering everything? What do we got going on? AI running the show?
God, no, I hope not. I don't know that it's that different, right? I'd like to think it's easier because this is not an easy business, right? So I would like to think it's a little easier, but it's still relationships, right? It's still incredibly detailed, and it's so many small things, that you just can't. Yeah, it'll never go on autopilot. Yeah. Because too many things happen.
Jen, what are you most proud of in your career?
It's probably maybe two things. And like the first one would be that I took some chances, and I was a little brave in saying yes to some things that maybe I wasn't totally qualified for. Okay. So, and for me, being the person that I am, that really goes against my grain. I'm very thoughtful, very process oriented. So taking risks isn't something that comes naturally to me. So I think I look back, I think that, I think the second one is kind of how I did it. I really believe that you can be true to who you are as a person and still be successful. So I always cared about people and kept people first. And so, yeah, it matters. It matters to people how you treat them, So I feel good about that.
That's awesome, Jen. Thank you.
All right. It is. Yeah. All right. Two more questions, Jen. One, you have a time machine and you get to go back to a younger Jen, back talking to the guidance counselor, and you were able to provide that Jen with some information. What would you provide them with?
Let's see. I would say that you're going to need some help, right? And it's okay to ask for help. It probably took me like 30 years before I was willing to ask for help, you know? And I think all the struggles that I went through along the way was like unnecessary, you know? So I think it's important that we support people and give them help, right? But be willing to ask for help, you know, which was hard for me. So I would tell myself that. I think I would also tell myself that you can actually balance a career and family. A lot of my reluctance was feeling like I was shortchanging people over here or shortchanging the people over there. And it took me a while to figure out that you can kind of set some rules and boundaries and make it work. Obviously, you need a good partner in that, and I had that in my husband. But that actually held me back for a while because I was really worried that I couldn't do that, you know? And so, like, if I had known that I could, I might have, you know, been more willing to do something sooner.
Good stuff, Jen. Bring us home here. We always like to ask our guests, give us one takeaway you'd like the audience to have from this conversation.
One takeaway.
Yeah.
All right. If I'm given a final word, this is the last thing I impart to my Univar Solutions colleagues. Be kind to each other. Our culture matters. It really matters. You know.
I love it. It feels like a mic drop. All right, chemical industry, family, partners, and friends. That is a wrap on another episode of the Smart Asses podcast brought to you by Univar Solutions. I'd like to thank Jen for taking the time today as our guest. Jen, we appreciate it. Congratulations, by the way, on your upcoming retirement. Good luck in your next phase in life, next steps in life. You will be missed here. You will be missed in the industry. Thanks for everything you've done along the way for Univar in the last 13 years. We really appreciate it. And additionally, thanks for all those listeners hanging in with us as always and spending time with us. We appreciate it. As a friendly reminder, please go find us wherever you like to source your podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Go find us, follow us, subscribe, and enjoy, please. Until next time, stay safe and stay healthy.